Chip, I found a great way to use ChatGPT. I often have to answer questions about our employee handbook. So, with my IT department's permission, I uploaded that handbook to ChatGPT, and it acts as my HR assistant, helps me understand the document. But the conversation is starting to get a little long. Will that eventually become a context problem?
Exactly. As your ChatGPT conversation gets longer and longer, you're eventually going to hit that context limit, which means that ChatGPT will either stop responding altogether or give you really poor quality answers.
Yikes.
Fortunately, ChatGPT gives us a solution for exactly this kind of situation. It's called My GPTs or Custom GPTs. Let me show you how it works. On the left-hand side, you'll see a menu option that says GPTs. And if we click on this, by default what we're seeing are lots of different custom GPTs that have already been pre-made for us. Each of these may have its own instructions, it may have its own knowledge, it may have its own connectors to outside resources, and that's what makes each one a little bit different than the default ChatGPT. So for example, up here at the top, if we choose Scholar GPT, now if we choose to start a chat with Scholar GPT, notice our interface changes. It's giving us a little summary about the GPT. It also gives us some suggested starter prompts. All of those are part of the custom GPT. So for example, we could ask it a question like, what recent studies since 2020 involve the science of learning and knowledge retention? Now, as soon as I submit that prompt, in this case, it wants to use an outside resource called cider.ai, and it's asking for permission to do that. And now it's starting to respond. It gives us a summary of what it's doing. If we scroll down, we can see it's starting to list the studies that it's found in its research. Notice that for each of these studies, there is a link to go view the study itself. So for example, with this first study, if I click on this PDF link, it's going to open that PDF in a new tab. So if we go over and look at the rest of our results from Scholar GPT, down at the bottom, it's got a little summary information and then a little bit of information about the company behind Scholar GPT.
Yeah, that last part reads almost like an ad. Is Scholar GPT free?
So right now, all the custom GPTs are free, but you will see situations like this where maybe the basic functionality is free, but there's some additional functionality the company offers that they might put in the bottom of the GPT response like this. But let's talk about your example with the HR document. Let's go back to this GPTs menu. Now in the top right, we have a My GPTs button and a Create button. Let's click the Create button to create our own custom GPT. And there's two ways we can do it. One is we can actually use ChatGPT, describe what we want and let it build it for us, or we can get more granular and configure it ourselves. But let's start by telling ChatGPT what we want. And in your example, since we're using an HR handbook, I'm going to give it a very specific prompt.
I love how specific the ending gets. If ChatGPT isn't sure how to answer, it shouldn't just make something up.
That's right. It's especially true for these custom GPTs because ChatGPT wants to answer the question. And so if it can't find the answer in the document, by default, it's going to try to make something up. Now, it may be very smart, but that may not be the answer that you want to give. So always nice to give it very specific guidance.